I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how I found out my wife, Sarah, was cheating on me, but here I am. We'd been together for about 5 years, married for 2. When we first got together, everything seemed perfect, at least on the surface. She was beautiful, charming, a little bitchy sometimes, but in a way that I thought was just her personality. I loved her, and I believed she loved me back. Or so I thought. Lately, though, I'd started noticing small things. She'd come home later than usual, claiming work was stressful or her friends were keeping her out. But she'd never give me a straight answer, and she'd get defensive if I asked too many questions. She also started dressing differently, more revealing, more flirtatious. Things I'd kind of brushed off as her trying to find herself again after years of just being wife and girlfriend. I figured maybe I was just paranoid or insecure, but deep down, I felt something was off. Then came the night I got her backstage passes to that local band I know she's been obsessed with, the Moonriders. I knew how much she loved their lead singer. Jake, she'd been talking about him for months, even joking about how she'd sneak into backstage if she ever got the chance. So I got us those passes, thinking it'd be a fun night for us, a little surprise. I told her I'd be waiting outside the venue while she went backstage, knowing how much it meant for her to meet them face to face. The night of the concert, I was hype. I was proud of myself for organizing it, for doing something special for her. She was excited too, all giggly and flirty, even more so than usual. She kept saying how lucky she was, how she couldn't believe I did this for her. She looked beautiful in her dress, and I felt a little pride at seeing her so happy. I went to grab some beers from the car, and when I came back, I noticed her phone buzzing constantly. Texts, notifications, a dozen messages from friends asking where she was. I didn't think much of it at first. I just watched her sneaking looks at her phone, quick to swipe away the screen if I got too close. Then something caught my eye, a quick glance at her screen, and I saw a message from someone named Jake. Just one word, "Can't wait to see you, tonight's gonna be unforgettable." My stomach dropped, I froze, my heart started pounding. I knew that name, Jake, the lead singer of her favorite band. My mind went numb. I looked around trying to play it cool, but the pieces clicked into place. She told me she was just excited to meet the band, but clearly there was more going on. How could she lie so easily? How could she pretend to be excited, to love me, while planning to cheat on me with the guy she's obsessed with? It's like she'd been lying from the start. I watched her slip her phone into her purse, and I just knew instantly that everything I believed in was a lie. She wasn't the woman I thought I married. She was a liar, a cheat, and a bitch who'd been hiding her true self behind that innocent smile. That's when the anger started to boil. The betrayal hit hard, but I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. I needed a plan. I needed to find proof. I needed to confront her, and when I did, I knew it wouldn't be pretty. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, replaying what I saw on her phone over and over. The message from Jake, the way she had that smug little smile on her face when she said she was just going backstage for a quick meet and greet. She'd lied. She lied about everything. I felt this mix of fury and heartbreak. I was furious at how easily she'd betrayed me, but mostly just crushed that she'd think she could get away with it, like I was supposed to just accept her bullshit. The next morning, I decided I needed to get to the bottom of it. I didn't want to confront her blindly, so I started digging. Her phone had a lock, but I knew her passcode, her birthday, which she'd told me countless times, so I used that. I scrolled through her messages, her photos, everything. I found more proof, text conversations with Jake, pictures from last night with them leaving the venue together, laughing, touching, close enough to be more than just friends. She had posted a few shady photos herself, pretending to be innocent, but the truth was all over her phone. I couldn't believe I was seeing this. The woman I married was out there, cheating, lying, sneaking behind my back with a guy I'd always considered just a fan. It was like my entire world crumbled in about 10 minutes. I felt sick, betrayed, humiliated. I'd been a good husband, working my ass off, trying to give us a good life, and she was out there screwing some musician she barely knew. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I also knew I had to do it carefully. I needed her to slip up, to admit everything. When she came home that afternoon, I was waiting for her in the living room. She looked annoyed. a little too casual, like she'd been expecting to get away with everything. I could see the defiance in her eyes. I told her I needed to talk, and she smirked, trying to brush it off like I was overreacting. I showed her her phone, the messages, the photos. Her face turned white for a second, then she started with her usual bullshit, denying everything, calling me paranoid, saying she was just friends with Jake, that I was overreacting. She called me insecure, jealous, like I was the one. Was crazy for suspecting her, but I wasn't born yesterday. I saw her reaction, her trembling hands, her quick lies. I knew she was lying, but I wanted her to admit it. I pressed her harder, asking her why she'd do this, what the hell she thought she was doing with Jake. She kept denying, calling me a possessive asshole, saying I don't give her enough attention, that I'm boring and I don't understand her needs. That's when she threw in the classic line, "It's not like we had sex or anything serious. It was just some fun. You wouldn't understand, you're so vanilla." That hurt more than anything. Hearing her say that, knowing she'd been with Jake, that they'd been intimate, I felt like my heart was breaking all over again. I couldn't believe I married someone so bitchy, so manipulative. She kept lying, twisting everything, trying to make it seem like I was the problem. But I saw through her. I saw her for what she really was, a cheating bitch. I wanted to smash something, punch her in the face, but I held back. Instead, I told her to pack her shit and leave. I told her I never wanted to see her again. The emotional roller coaster was relentless. I went from shock to anger to deep sadness, wondering how I missed all the signs, how she managed to lie so convincingly, how she could just throw away everything we had. I felt worthless and betrayed, but at the same time, I knew I had to stand my ground. I couldn't let her keep tearing me down, not anymore. That day, I decided enough was enough. I was done with her lies, her games, her betrayal. It's so raw, so fresh, that I can barely sleep. I keep replaying everything, trying to find some way to understand why she did this, why she thought she could get away with it. It's an ugly feeling, being used, discarded, and made to feel like you were just some fool who didn't see the truth. I want to believe I'll get over it, but right now, I just feel lost. And honestly, I don't even know if I want to try anymore. After I kicked her out, I spent days just wandering around in a fog. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind kept circling back to that night, her lies, Jake's stupid face leaving the venue with her. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile, her dismissive attitude, like she didn't care about what she'd done. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so naive. I thought I knew her, thought we had something real. Turns out I was just fooling myself. I started doing some serious thinking. Honestly, I was angry at her, at Jake for even getting involved, at myself for not noticing the signs earlier. But mostly, I was furious because she just lied right to my face, as if I was some idiot who wouldn't figure it out. That kind of betrayal sticks with you. I kept replaying her words, her dismissals, her sneers. The way she told me I was boring and too vanilla, like that was some kind of excuse. Like I wasn't enough for her, so she went looking elsewhere. I also realized I needed some concrete proof if I was ever going to confront her again. I started digging even deeper into her social media, her texts, her emails. I wanted to be sure there weren't any surprises left. That's when I found the rest of her plans. She'd been texting Jake more than I thought, even talking about future meetups, secret plans behind my back. It wasn't just a one-time thing. She was actively pursuing this affair, and she'd been lying about it the entire time. I was hurt, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't just about a fling. It was about a woman who'd throw away everything we had for some fleeting thrill with a guy who, honestly, is not even that special. I'd always joked that Jake was just some local musician, but to her, he was her fantasy. Watching her fall for that, listening to her spin her lies, made me realize how superficial she was. She cared more about the thrill of the chase, the attention, than she ever did about honesty or loyalty. Meanwhile, my friends, family, everyone kept asking how I was holding up. Honestly, I was a mess. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut every day. But I also knew I had to start thinking about what's next. Do I try to fix this? Do I forgive her and hope she changes? Or do I cut my losses and move on? The truth is, I don't have an easy answer. I still love her, or at least I did, but I also know she's capable of hurting me that badly. Trust is shattered, maybe forever. One thing I did realize, though, is that I'd been giving her too much control. I was always trying to be the understanding husband, the forgiving guy. But this was different. This was betrayal on a scale I'd never imagined. I started to see that I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, who wouldn't cheat, who wouldn't treat me like a fool. That realization hit hard, but it also gave me a little bit of strength. I knew I wouldn't let her do this to me again, no matter how much I still loved her. So I made a decision. I was going to confront her again, not in tears or begging, but with a clear head and a firm stance. I needed her to know I wasn't going to be played anymore. I wanted her to admit everything, all her lies, all her scheming. And if she refused or denied it again, I knew what I had to do. I couldn't keep living in this limbo, this false hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd change her mind. The pain was too raw, but I also knew I wouldn't let her control me anymore. That's the point I reached, realizing I had to take back my power, even if it meant losing her forever. The day I decided to confront her again, I felt like I was walking into a storm I couldn't predict. I knew she'd been lying, hiding things, probably thinking she could keep doing that forever, but I wasn't going to let her. I set everything up carefully. I waited until she was home, knowing she'd come back expecting me to be too broken or angry to do anything. But I was calm, calmer than I'd ever been in that moment. When she walked through the door, I just looked at her. She was dressed in that same snide, bitchy way, like she thought she was untouchable. I didn't waste time. I pulled out her phone and showed her everything I'd found, the messages, the photos, the posts. Her face changed from annoyance to shock in less than a second. I told her I knew exactly what she was doing. I told her I was some fool anymore. I asked her straight out, "Are you or were you sleeping with Jake?" Her lips curled into that nasty smirk, like she was daring me to believe her lies again. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "It's not what you think, David. Honestly, he's just a friend. We never did anything serious." I scoffed. "Just a friend? Come on. You've been texting him all week, planning to meet up again. Don't lie to me now." Her eyes flickered, trying to come up with some bullshit excuse, but I wasn't having it. I told her, clearly and loudly, that I had enough. I told her she was a manipulative bitch, that I'd been blind to her lies for years, but I wasn't anymore. That's when she started her usual spin, saying I was insecure, that I didn't give her enough attention, that I was just jealous because I couldn't handle her freedom. She looked at me like I was some crazy guy who just couldn't accept that she needed her independence. And honestly, I was about to lose my mind because she was so good at lying, so good at twisting everything around. I could see her trying to make herself the victim, even now. I told her she had one last chance to come clean, to tell me the truth about Jake, about everything. She hesitated, trying to play innocent, and then she snapped, calling me uptight and possessive. She said she was just bored, that I was dull, that she needed some excitement. I couldn't believe her words. She was so dismissive, so bitchy, like she thought I was some idiot for falling for her lies all these years. I told her to get out, that I didn't want to see her face again, not until she finally admitted what she'd done. I was done with her games. I told her she had thrown away everything we built for some guy who's just a nobody. I told her I'd never forgive her, and I meant every word. I wanted her out of my house, out of my life, because I knew now I deserved better than this fake, manipulative version of her. Watching her walk away, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me was glad I finally confronted her, that I faced the truth instead of living in denial. But another part of me felt broken, like I'd lost the woman I loved, the woman I trusted. The betrayal had cut so deep it was hard to breathe. I wanted to scream, cry, do something, to make her see what she'd done, to make her regret it. But mostly I just wanted my life back, the life I'd thought I was building with her, now shattered beyond repair. In that moment, I knew I had to start picking up the pieces. Whatever happened next, I had to rebuild myself. I couldn't keep living in this betrayal's shadow. I had to find a way to move on, even if that meant starting all over alone. And honestly, I didn't know how yet, but I knew I couldn't stay in this toxic mess anymore. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever endured. Honestly, I felt like I was walking through a haze every morning, trying to piece my life back together after finding out the woman I loved had been lying and sneaking around with Jake. Every time I thought about her, her bullshit stories, or the way she looked at me like I was nothing, my stomach would turn. It was like a punch in the gut every time I remembered how she dismissed my feelings, how she called me boring vanilla, like that was some kind of justification for her cheating. The betrayal cut so deep I felt numb most of the time, but inside I was raging. I started to realize that I'd been giving her all the power. I was the one who tried to be understanding, who overlooked the little signs because I thought love was enough. But love isn't supposed to feel like this, like you're constantly on edge, waiting for the next lie, the next betrayal. The truth is, I was tired of being the fool, tired of feeling like I was just some placeholder while she chased her fantasies with Jake. It was a wake-up call, one I couldn't ignore anymore. I decided I needed to cut contact completely. No more text messages, no more trying to explain or get closure from her. I changed my number, blocked her on social media, and even considered changing my number just to get away from her toxic lies. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that I deserved someone who wouldn't cheat, who wouldn't lie, someone who'd actually respect me. And if she couldn't see the damage she'd done, then she wasn't worth my time anymore. But it wasn't just about her. I knew I had to focus on myself, rebuilding my confidence, my sense of worth. I started hitting the gym, throwing myself into work, anything I could do to keep my mind busy. It helped a little, made me feel stronger, even if just a little. Still, I'd wake up some nights with that sick feeling in my stomach, wishing I could undo everything, wishing I'd never trusted her, never believed the lies she fed me. Meanwhile, I kept hearing from friends and family. Some of them told me I should just let go, move on. Others said I should confront her again, demand an explanation. But honestly, I didn't want to hear her bullshit anymore. I knew she'd never admit to what she'd done unless it was forced out of her, and I wasn't going to waste any more time trying to save something that was already broken. For now, I decided to just focus on healing, even if it felt impossible some days. One thing I realized, though, was that I'd been a lot more naive than I thought. I always believed in second chances, in fixing what's broken, but this wasn't just a mistake. She deliberately lied and betrayed me. That kind of betrayal doesn't just go away, it leaves scars. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that I had to let go of the fantasy that everything could go back to the way it was. The trust was shattered. So I made a promise to myself. No more excuses, no more justifications. I was done feeling like the fool. I deserved better, and I owed it to myself to walk away from someone who constantly disrespected me, lied to my face, and made me feel small. The road ahead is rough, but I know I have to rebuild my life piece by piece. I don't want her in it anymore. I want to find peace, even if it feels like a long, hard road. I guess the hardest part is accepting that sometimes people you love can betray you in ways you never saw coming. I've learned that no matter how much you try to believe they're different, the truth comes out in the end. And sometimes, the best thing you can do is accept that it's over, pick yourself up, and move on no matter how much it hurts. That's what I'm trying to do now. It's been a few weeks now since I kicked her out and cut ties, and honestly, I still feel the rawness in my chest. Some days it's easier than others. I've started seeing a counselor just to process everything, the betrayal, the hurt, the anger. It's helping me put some words to a pain I couldn't really express before. I never thought I'd be the guy who'd sit here and say that losing a wife like that, even in such a brutal way, would somehow be a relief. But it is. What's really hit me hardest is how much I let myself believe in her, how long I kept making excuses for her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. I always thought I was the good husband, the loyal one, the one who would do anything for us. But now I see that I was just blind to how much she was willing to toss me aside to chase her own selfish thrills. She chose Jake over me, over everything we built. That realization is like a kick in the stomach every time I think about it. I've learned a lot from this whole mess. Mainly that I don't need someone who manipulates, lies, and disrespects me. I'm not perfect, and I know I've made my mistakes, but I never deserved this level of betrayal. I thought love was enough to get through anything. Turns out, love isn't enough if the person you're with doesn't respect you enough not to cheat behind your back. Now, I'm more focused on myself. I've started reconnecting with old friends, doing things I enjoy that I'd neglected for her, playing guitar again, going to the gym, working on my career. I want to rebuild my confidence, my sense of worth. It's not easy. Some nights I still feel the sting of loneliness and betrayal. But I know I'll get through it. Better days are coming, even if they're hard to see right now. Looking back, I realize I should have trusted my instincts from the start. All those little signs, her secretive phone habits, her dismissiveness, her flirting, those were warnings I ignored. I let my love for her blind me. I made excuses, told myself she was just going through a rough patch, that she'd come around. But she never did. Instead, she threw everything away for some guy's temporary attention. So, what's the final lesson? If I could give one, it's this: never ignore the signs. Don't let your love make you blind to the truth. And don't be afraid to walk away from someone who repeatedly disrespects you, no matter how much you care. Because in the end, you're the one who has to live with your choices, and I refuse to live with the shadow of her lies hanging over me anymore. I'm not perfect, and I won't pretend I'm completely healed, but I am healing, and I'm choosing to move forward stronger and wiser. Sometimes the biggest lesson is realizing you deserve better and not settling for less. I'll never forget what she did, but I won't let it define me either. I'm done with the betrayal, done with the lies. It's time to rebuild, one step at a time.